So, have y'all seen the not Epstein files, but the photos of who was in the photos of Epstein? You know what I'm saying? Epstein, who a guy ended up killing himself in prison, who was found guilty. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people who was on the Epstein island of messing with young girls and stuff like that. This stuff was circulating the last maybe this last year or so. You know what I mean? Who was on that island? Whose names and photos are in these files? And now it comes to find out these last couple of days, there were some photos of some interesting people, man. But let me see if I can play a video of about this whole situation. Then I can pull up some video photos of who was on that island.
This Epstein Files release, if we can even really call it that, has been a dumpster fire. But it looks like everyone's losing trust at the
Shout out to the Philip DeFranco show. Shout out to him, man.
exact same time. You've got lawmakers from both parties accusing the DOJ of slow walking, blacking out, and selectively hiding information in one of the most notorious abuse cases in modern history. And that's despite a law that explicitly ordered full transparency. Because what the DOJ released, it wasn't clarity, it was largely hundreds of pages of black boxes. Right, the Epstein Files Transparency Act required the Justice Department to fully release all unclassified records related to Jeffrey Epstein. But instead, this Trump DOJ, they released a partial dump and promised more in the coming weeks, which immediately triggered outrage. And so as of this morning, you had Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announcing that he was introducing legislation to initiate legal action against the DOJ, accusing it of just openly violating the law, and he was not alone there. Right? House Republican Thomas Massie and House Democrat Ro Khanna, they floated something even further, holding Attorney General Pam Bondi in inherent contempt, which is a rarely used congressional power that would allow lawmakers to fine her every single day that the documents aren't released.
They're flouting the spirit and the letter of the law. It's very troubling, the posture that they've taken. And I won't be satisfied until the survivors are satisfied. The quickest way, and I think most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi. And that doesn't require going through the courts. And give her, and basically Ro Khanna and I are talking about and drafting that right now.
We only need the House for inherent contempt, and we're building a bipartisan coalition, and it would fine Pam Bondi for every day that she's not releasing these documents.
And their argument was simple. This isn't about pacing, it's about selective concealment. Right, nearly 700 pages of the release were entirely redacted, not partially, not names.
Wow, y'all seen that? It says 700 pages was it redacted.
Entirely redacted.
That's crazy. NBC News analysts found that nearly 700 pages of documents from Friday's drop were entirely redacted. Initial search of the documents released Saturday revealed no mentions of Trump, Donald Trump, Clinton, or Bill Clinton, but the documents contain redacted photos, parts that aren't searchable. Wow. And we know that, everybody want transparency, you know what I'm saying? And that's what the government is saying and stuff like that. They're gonna release the files to the government, to the audience or whatever, you know what I mean? But they're redacting a lot of stuff, a lot of photos and stuff like that, information. And before this file really came out, I already know because we already seen pictures of Epstein with a lot of famous people, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? And Donald Trump being a president now, I already know that Donald Trump, even if he was in at that island or whatever, nothing gonna come out showing the current president in that paperwork. You know what I'm saying? I already knew that. So let's see what's going on though.
Not partially, not names removed, completely blacked out. And that includes a 119-page grand jury document that was released as nothing but just black ink. And so you had lawmakers across the political spectrum calling the redactions obscene. One writing, "Most transparent administration in history, these redactions are a mockery of Epstein's survivors and the American people." And another warning, the law allows redactions only to protect victims and their families. Anything else violates federal law. And then, over the weekend, things got even messier because reporters noticed that the DOJ had quietly removed at least 16 files from the initial release. And among them, this is going to shock you, included photos of Donald Trump. One image showing Trump, Melania, Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell together. It's a publicly known photo that's existed for years. Another showing Trump surrounded by women, including one wearing a bikini. DOJ also removed images of nude paintings from Epstein's estate. Though after the intense backlash and accusations of political interference, the files were restored. And you had the Trump DOJ claiming that the Trump image, it was removed out of an abundance of caution. Their words, to protect victims, and then they reposted it after determining that no victims were depicted. Which then raised a brand new question that lawmakers immediately asked. Well, what else was removed and who noticed? release? And that question, it just blew up after Aaron Parnas revealed that a survivor's full name was left unredacted in the release, which is a direct violation of the law, while the DOJ continues to withhold her full FBI file. Something that this woman called an indefensible violation. But in the meantime, we've also seen some of the images released spreading like wildfire. Right? One showing Epstein shirtless under covers next to a very young-looking child. You also had others featuring Bill Clinton with Epstein and celebrities like Mick Jagger, Michael Jackson, and Diana Ross, along with photos of Clinton in a hot tub and a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and redacted individuals. And there, what you saw were Republicans jumping on those images to argue that the files, they actually implicate Democrats more than Trump. Though then you had Democrats firing back that the redactions themselves suggest that the DOJ may be shielding powerful people, potentially even including the president. I mean, even Republican Senator Rand Paul warned the administration that this was a mistake, saying that any hint of a cover-up is going to haunt them for months and urging a full release.
I mean, look, the administration has struggled for months and months with something they initially ginned up and then sort of tried to tamp down. So any evidence or any kind of indication that there's not a full reveal on this, this will just plague them for months and months more. So my suggestion would be give up all the information, release it.
And then also, I've got to say, buried beneath all this political chaos is one of the most devastating revelations.
You gotta understand that releasing all that information and the current president will be in any of these photos, his name anywhere, mess with any of these young women, man, this gonna tear the whole country apart, man. You know what I'm saying? So I already knew before this stuff come out that Donald Trump not really gonna be in there. You know what I'm saying? Because we already know he was best friends of this guy. You know what I'm saying? So the current president information won't be on there. So yes, it's still a cover up because there's a lot of stuff redacted. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff covered up, a lot of blank pages. You know, it's crazy and it's wild. You know what I mean? You want to do full transparency with everybody, but then again, y'all still hiding stuff. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of people say they don't trust the government. It's crazy, man.
In the entire dump. Right? And that's a 1996 FBI complaint from Maria Farmer. You see, Farmer, she reported Epstein for allegedly stealing nude photos of her sisters, 16 and 12 years old, and for pressuring her to photograph young girls. And she says not only did Epstein threaten to burn her house down if she told anyone, she begged the FBI to investigate, but they didn't. For 10 years. And now, 3 decades later, her report is finally public, with her telling the New York Times, I've waited 30 years. They can't call me a liar anymore. And while she says, she feels vindicated, she also said they should be ashamed. They harmed all of these little girls. Right? And saying that her complaint also urged the FBI to investigate powerful people in Epstein's orbit, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. And yet, even now, key FBI interviews with survivors are missing. Names like Prince Andrew, they barely appear, and victims say that the system, it is once again failing them. But as far as what we're seeing with this, you have the Trump White House claiming that the administration has done more for victims than the Democrats ever have. The Trump DOJ says there's no effort to protect Trump, and officials are daring Congress to even try to hold them in contempt. Right, but at this point, with everything that we've seen, there's just one thing that's undeniable. The Epstein files were supposed to bring transparency, but instead, they've just exposed how little trust remains in the DOJ and politics and in a system that has failed survivors and protected the elites for decades.
So yeah, man, you get it. Like we already know that the Epstein files was. We all wanted to see what happened on that island. You know what I mean? We already had a lot of, not a lot, but some victims came out and did a news conference as well. You know what I mean? So they want the files as well. You know what I'm saying? And they was sadly they was messed with a lot of famous people, but seems they don't remember none of the famous people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's crazy, but let's look at some of these photos, man, from the Epstein file, which is crazy. It's sad as well. So this is Bill Clinton, Epstein himself, and I don't know who that guy is right here. Epstein, what's the woman right here? No, Bill Clinton chilling, man. Bill Clinton is chilling. This is crazy. He chilling in the pool, man. This is wild. Epstein, Glenn Maxwell. I don't know who that is right there. You gotta understand, man. You got famous people being flown to his island to mess with young women, man. This is sick, man. And you got Michael Jackson. Some people say this shit was Photoshop. I'm not sure how real this is, but this is what they released. So I hope. Well, we already know allegedly Michael Jackson was messing with young kids as well, which is crazy. That's why he got sued and went to court as well. Even though he won one court case, but he still settled out of court. Wow, this just is wild, man. Haven't really released everything. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy, man. But y'all tell me what y'all think about this whole situation.